Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a land where the sun doesn't just rise, it remembers. Where every stone has a name, every breeze carries a prayer, and every path has been walked by prophets. This is no ordinary place. This is Israel. And today we're not just talking about land or people, we're talking about something eternal, something sacred. We're diving deep into the soul of a faith that has stood the test of time, fire, and exile. A faith that lives not only in synagogues, but in the rhythm of life itself. You see, Judaism in Israel isn't just a religion, it's a pulse, a promise, a purpose. It's the voice of Abraham echoing through generations, the cry of Moses from Mount Sinai, the hope of a people who never let go of their God. If you've ever asked why most people in Israel follow Judaism, then stay with me, because this isn't just an answer, it's a revelation. And by the end of this journey, you won't just understand it, you'll feel it. Judaism is deeply rooted in the land of Israel, making it not just a religion of the people, but a faith that was born in the very soil of that land. It began over 3,000 years ago with the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who were considered the founding fathers of the Jewish faith. According to Jewish tradition, God made a covenant with Abraham, promising that his descendants would become a great nation and inherit the land of Canaan, which is present-day Israel. This divine promise is central to Jewish identity and continues to shape their spiritual and national consciousness. The stories of the Torah, of Moses receiving the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, of King David establishing Jerusalem, of the building and destruction of the temple, are not distant legends, but defining moments that took place in the very heart of Israel. This historical connection makes the land sacred and the faith inseparable from it. For most Jews in Israel, following Judaism is not simply a matter of belief. It's a continuation of a legacy that began with their ancestors walking the same hills, praying to the same God, and holding on to the same covenant that still echoes through time. Judaism's deep connection to Israel is not simply a matter of religious affiliation. It's a matter of origin and identity. Over 3,000 years ago, in the ancient lands now known as Israel, Judaism was born. It began with a man named Abraham, a spiritual pioneer who, according to tradition, heard the voice of God calling him to leave his homeland and go to a new land that would be shown to him. That land was Canaan, modern-day Israel. It was there that a divine covenant was formed. God promised Abraham that his descendants would become a great nation and inherit this land forever. This wasn't just a promise of territory, it was a spiritual bond, an everlasting relationship between a people and their creator. From Abraham came Isaac, from Isaac came Jacob, and from Jacob came the 12 tribes of Israel, each tribe forming the foundation of what would later be known as the Jewish people. This wasn't just about geography, it was about destiny. The stories of the Jewish people, Moses parting the Red Sea, Joshua entering the Promised Land, King David establishing Jerusalem as the spiritual capital, all unfolded in this sacred space. So when Jews live in Israel and follow Judaism, they're not just practicing a faith. They're living in the exact land where that faith was born, where its laws were given, and where its deepest hopes still reside. But what makes this connection even stronger is the belief in the covenant, an unbreakable promise between God and the children of Israel. According to the Torah, God did not just give land to Abraham's descendants, He gave them purpose. He gave them commandments, ethics, and a vision for how to live in relationship with the divine. This covenant is central to Jewish belief. It means that being Jewish is not only about personal faith, it's about being part of a larger mission. The land of Israel is part of that mission. It's not just a homeland, it's a holy land, given for a purpose, to be a light unto the nations. This is why, after centuries of exile and persecution, Jews never gave up on returning to this land. When the modern state of Israel was founded in 1948, it wasn't just the establishment of a political entity, it was the physical return of a people to the heart of their spiritual identity. And in that return, Judaism flourished, not as something borrowed from the past, but as something alive, sacred, and central to the everyday lives of millions. In Israel, Judaism is not just a religion practiced in private, It's a living, breathing part of the nation's cultural and national identity. For most Israelis who follow Judaism, their faith is deeply interwoven with the language they speak, the holidays they celebrate, and the values they grow up with. Hebrew, the national language, is not a modern invention. It's the ancient language of the Torah, revived after centuries to become the voice of a modern state. This linguistic revival wasn't just about communication, it was a spiritual and cultural resurrection. Every word spoken in Hebrew connects the speaker to thousands of years of heritage, linking modern life to ancient scripture. Public life in Israel reflects this connection. National holidays like Passover, Yom Kippur, and Rosh Hashanah are not only observed religiously, but are also state holidays, honored in public schools, government offices, and the rhythm of society itself. And even the Israeli weekend, Friday and Saturday, aligns with the Jewish Sabbath, when many businesses close and families gather in peace and reflection. This cultural integration reinforces Judaism as more than a personal belief. It becomes a shared national experience. Children learn Jewish history and values in school. Soldiers in the army mark traditional holidays with ceremonies that reflect both national pride and spiritual reflection. In neighborhoods across the country, Shabbat dinners are filled with songs, blessings, and generations sitting side by side. The mezuzah on the doorpost, the menorah in the window, the sound of the shofar in the distance. These are not rare sights or sounds, they are part of everyday life. And for many, these symbols are not only religious, they are reminders of identity, of belonging, and of legacy. Judaism in Israel also plays a role in civil matters. Marriage, burial, and other life milestones are often governed by Jewish law. While Israel is a democracy with many secular citizens, its foundations are deeply influenced by its religious heritage. This intertwining of state and faith reinforces Judaism's presence across all levels of life, from the private home to the national parliament. For most Jews in Israel, practicing Judaism is not only a spiritual act, but a cultural expression of who they are as a people. It connects them to their ancestors, to their neighbors, and to their shared future. In this way, Judaism is not just followed in Israel, it is lived, breathed, and carried forward with every step taken on the land their forefathers once walked. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, suffering, and scattering across the globe, the Jewish people did something few thought possible. They returned home. The return from the diaspora is one of the most powerful reasons why most people in Israel follow Judaism today. For centuries, Jews lived in foreign lands as minorities, often facing persecution, discrimination, and violence. From to the Roman destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, to the Spanish Inquisition, from pogroms in Eastern Europe to the horrors of the Holocaust, Jewish communities were forced to live without a homeland. But through it all, they held on to their faith. They prayed facing Jerusalem. They ended every Passover meal with the words, "Next year in Jerusalem." And they passed down not only their stories, but their hope, generation after generation. When the State of Israel was established in 1948, it wasn't just a political act, it was a spiritual homecoming. Jews from every corner of the earth began to return. From Europe, from North Africa, from the Middle East, from Ethiopia, and later from the Soviet Union. They brought different languages, customs, and cultures, but what united them was Judaism. It was the thread that held them together through exile, and it became the foundation upon which they would rebuild a nation. The land they returned to was not unfamiliar. It was the very land described in their sacred texts, the land promised to Abraham, walked by prophets, and prayed for through centuries of longing. This return wasn't just about reclaiming land, it was about reclaiming identity. In Israel, Jews could finally practice their faith openly, celebrate their holidays freely, and raise their children without fear of being punished for who they were. This newfound freedom led to a revival of religious life. Synagogues were built, ancient traditions were renewed, and Jewish education flourished. The Torah was no longer just a symbol of the past. It became the guide for the present and the hope for the future. For many Jews in Israel today, following Judaism is a way of honoring those who suffered in exile, those who died in the Holocaust, and those who dreamed of return but never lived to see it. It is also a way of anchoring themselves in something eternal, something that cannot be taken away again. The return from the diaspora was more than a physical journey. It was a spiritual resurrection, and that resurrection continues every day in the lives of those who walk the land, speak the language, and live the faith of their ancestors. One of the strongest reasons why most people in Israel follow Judaism is the deep presence of religious institutions and education that shape everyday life from childhood to adulthood. In Israel, Judaism isn't confined to synagogues or observed only on special occasions. It is taught, practiced, and experienced consistently through a rich network of schools, study centers, and communal spaces. From an early age, many Israeli children attend religious or semi-religious schools where Jewish history, the Hebrew Bible, and traditional values are taught alongside modern subjects. These schools don't just teach facts, they shape identity. Children grow up learning about the Torah, the prophets, the holidays, and the ethics that have guided the Jewish people for generations. It becomes part of who they are, not only spiritually, but socially and culturally. But beyond the classroom, Israel is filled with yeshivot, Jewish religious schools for deeper Torah study, seminaries, and institutions where thousands of young men and women immerse themselves in Jewish texts, philosophy, and law. These places are not isolated. They are vibrant centers of discussion, learning, and spiritual growth. They produce rabbis, scholars, community leaders, and educators who go on to teach others and keep Jewish tradition alive and evolving. Judaism in Israel is also supported by countless community centers, youth movements, and outreach programs that provide education, mentorship, and cultural experiences rooted in Jewish values. This infrastructure ensures that Judaism is not only accessible, but engaging and relevant across all age groups and levels of observance. In daily life, this educational foundation is reflected in how people celebrate the holidays, observe Shabbat, and mark life's milestones, from birth and bar mitzvah to marriage and mourning. Judaism is present in public broadcasting, government ceremonies, and even in the way neighborhoods are designed, with many areas having synagogues and religious schools within walking distance. This constant exposure to faith-based education helps keep Jewish tradition alive, not as a ritual to be performed, but as a living dialogue between the past and the present. For many Israelis, following Judaism is not only a personal commitment, but a continuation of a deeply rooted system that supports their understanding of self, community, and purpose. With these institutions in place, Judaism becomes more than belief. It becomes a shared language, a communal rhythm, and a source of strength in a world that often feels unstable. It's not just learned, it's lived. And that's why, for most people in Israel, Judaism remains a central guiding force in their lives. Another powerful reason why most people in Israel follow Judaism is the strong sense of unity, identity, and purpose that it provides in a region often marked by conflict, pressure, and uncertainty. Living in Israel means living at the crossroads of ancient promises and modern challenges. Surrounded by political tensions, historical disputes, and security threats, the people of Israel often find strength, resilience, and a deep sense of belonging through their shared Jewish faith. Judaism in this context is not just a matter of private spirituality. It becomes a source of national solidarity. It binds people together through shared values, rituals, and a collective memory that stretches back thousands of years. Whether one is religious or secular, the impact of Jewish tradition is deeply felt. It shapes the moral framework of the country, influences social justice movements, and offers hope and guidance in times of crisis. During moments of national tragedy or hardship, such as war, terror attacks, or natural disasters, Judaism provides more than comfort, it provides direction. Prayers are said not just in synagogues, but at military bases, schools, hospitals, and public squares. Psalm recitations, candle lightings, and community fasts unite people across different levels of observance. It's in these moments that the power of a shared faith becomes especially clear. People look to Torah for answers, to tradition for strength, and to each other for support. Judaism gives them a language of resilience, a way to interpret suffering, and the courage to keep moving forward. Moreover, Israel's identity as a Jewish state means that Judaism is not simply a personal belief system. It is a national framework. The Israeli flag bears the Star of David, a Jewish symbol. The national anthem, Hatikva, speaks of the Jewish soul and the longing to return to Zion. The very calendar of the country is based on the Jewish lunar calendar. This integration of religion and national identity gives people a profound sense of purpose. They are not just citizens of a country, they are participants in a historical mission. For many Israelis, following Judaism affirms that their lives are part of something eternal, that their existence as a people in this land is not an accident, but a fulfillment of destiny. In a world that constantly shifts and challenges identity, Judaism offers a foundation that is unshakable. It reminds them who they are, where they come from, and why their story still matters. For many Israelis, following Judaism affirms that their lives are part of something eternal, that their existence as a people in this land is not an accident, but the fulfillment of a divine promise. In a world full of uncertainty, change, and external pressures, Judaism offers a sense of grounding, continuity, and direction. It reminds them of their history, their struggles, and their victories, providing a deeper understanding of their purpose and place in the world. It's not just a religious practice. It's a living, breathing connection to something much larger than themselves, a shared legacy that binds them together and drives them forward. In this way, Judaism in Israel is not merely followed, it is lived as a testament to the resilience, hope, and unwavering spirit of a people who have endured, rebuilt, and continue to thrive